Ourselves, why is it happening? Why is it happening on Mount Carmel? So I once heard an explanation. If you stand on top of Mount Carmel, you can get a good view of the north, even the north going into Lebanon. And maybe it's midway between the north with the Asherah, idolatry has arrived from, and going south towards Yerushalayim, where the Beit HaMikdash is, where the service of the oneness of God. Ken Rav Mordechai from the Yeshiva in Golani offers that explanation about the position of Mount Carmel between Yerushalayim and Lebanon, perhaps. Nonetheless, the chance, the efforts made by the idolatry prophets doesn't work. Fire does not come down from heaven. And now, Eliyahu does some things which are out of the ordinary. Pasuk Lamed Daled, verse 34 of chapter 18. Vayomer milu arba chadim mayim v'itzku al. I'm sorry, maybe we skipped Lamed Aleph. I'm sorry, we didn't do Lamed Aleph from 31. Vayikach Eliyahu 12 avanim kemispar shiftei bnei Yaakov asher haya dvar Adonai elav lemor Yisrael yesh shemecha. There are those that ask, why is he building or constructing an altar made out of 12 stones? Well, we all know that 12 is symbolic of the 12 tribes, but it's just more than that. The efforts that Eliyahu is making right now are efforts that will have an influence on the nation. The nation, from its core, starts from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu has 12 sons. There are 12 avenues, perhaps boulevards, serving Hashem, everyone with their own talents. Each tribe has its own talent, has its own character trait. The Mizbeach and the efforts of Eliyahu and Avi is not the private efforts of Eliyahu. What Eliyahu wants to do is connect to the nation. The nation is comprised of 12 talents, 12 tribes. And not by mere incidents is he building a Mizbeach made out of 12 tribes, the Shiftei Yisrael, and that which represents Israel. Because if you remember, when Yaakov Avinu returned back after 20 years, being by his father-in-law, and there he has 11 children and one daughter, and he comes back into the land of Israel, he goes to Shechem. From Shechem, he goes to Beitel. He closes the circuit. He left from Beitel, comes back to Beitel, and there he has a name change from Yaakov to Yisrael. In that altar that he built and gave thanks to Hashem in Beitel, and he had his name changed. Right now, Eliyahu Navi wants to connect, to feed on to the nation, comprised of 12 tribes, rooted in Yaakov Avinu. Because again, the efforts he's making is not a private effort, it's not a private enterprise. He wants the nation to be uplifted from this great event. So too we'll see something regarding the dimensions of the area where he's sacrificing. Pasuk Lamed Bet 32. Vayivneta avanim mizbeach b'shem Adonai vayas te'ala kevei tza'atayim zera saviv lamizbeach. Number one, he's building the altar for the sake of God. It's obvious. He's not doing it so he can become famous. He's not doing it because call me an important person, rather, b'shem Hashem. What he's doing is representing God. Number two, what does he build in and around the altar area where he's placing the animal? He builds a canal. Why is he building a canal? Because he plans to uplift, to heighten the miracle that's about to be done. Because he plans to, after digging the canal around there, he plans to fill it up with water. Just like the IDF is filling up some of the shafts and some of the tunnels with water. Maybe interesting. Just like Eliyahu took it from the Mediterranean. No, just like the IDF is taking from the Mediterranean, right? They're using water engineers to take out the water from the Mediterranean, filling up some of the tunnels. You might ask, where does Eliyahu have money? Where does he have water here to fill up the ta'ala? Maybe he's taken from the Mediterranean as well. Maybe Eliyahu learned from the IDF. Or is it the other way around? The other way around. Nonetheless, He's filling up. But notice the Tanakh bothers to tell us what is the size of the ta'ala surrounding the Mizbeach. It has the area that you can sow 2 sa'im of zera. 2 sa'im. A sa'im is a mishnaic unit of an area. It's a dimension of what was, in Chazal's time, 5,000 square cubits. 5,000 amot merubaot. Would you please show us your lovely looking amma? There it is. This is an amma approximately, about half a meter. 5,000 of them, which if you ask this mathematician to tell us, come on, tell me from amma, convert it to meters, we're going to talk about 2,500 square meters. Which will be 50 by 50. 50 meters by 50 meters, 2,500 square meters. That's exactly the area of the courtyard of the Mishkan. We receive that dimensions in the book of Shemot when God commands Moshe and Am Yisrael to build a Mishkan. And you ask yourself, well, what's the importance of telling us the dimension? Number one, it's a great large area. That's a lot of water. If you're about to have fire come down, when fire meets so much water, who usually wins the boxing match? The water, right? So what Eliyahu wants to do is to heighten, to make greater the miracle that the Mizbeach will be entirely encompassed by an area of water, and it's like the area of the Mishkan. The area of the Mishkan, wow. Maybe 150 kilometers from here is the Beit HaMikdash. And they're doing daily sacrifices there. And here Eliyahu is here. And by the way, I can imagine if we interviewed for Machon Meir News, if we interviewed a few prophets of those days, what do you think is going to happen today? I mean, they had no idea what's about to happen. I mean, the ticket sold to come to the showdown at Mount Carmel didn't say what the itinerary is, that, fire is going to come down from the sky. It's going to... So it's amazing. He's pouring it, filling it up with water, as we see now in verse Lamed Daled, the next pasuk. But first, what does he do? In Lamed Gimel, Vayarochet ha'etzim, he establishes the order of wood upon which to put the sacrifice. Vayinatach et apar, linateach, to operate. Nituach is an operation. He's cutting up the par into pieces. Well, where did he learn how to do this? Is Eliyahu Nevi a Kohen? Not to my knowledge. He's a Yisrael. Where did he learn how to cut up? Well, the Torah teaches us in Chumash Vayikra. When we learn about all the different korbanot, how the nitachim, how it's supposed to be cut up. So he's doing like any korban olah. We're talking about an olah sacrifice and a scent offering. And now he orders, Pasuk Lamed Daled, I don't know exactly to whom he's talking about, but there's people around there. The nation, by large, is collected there. Vayomer, he says, Milu arba chadimayim, fill up 4 pitchers of water. V'itzku ala olah v'ala itzim. The instructions are, pour the water, both on the animal, right? Water him up. V'al ha'etzim. Okay? Why? On the wood upon which the animal is. Again, to heighten the miracle, the more it's absorbed with water, the more it's saturated with water. And when fire meets it, l'chora, fire is not going to be consuming things that are so watery and so on. As the Radak explains, it's in order to water and saturate it. And the Malbim answers the question, well, why the number 4? Okay? Maybe the Maral of Prague would say the same answer. 4 is significant of the 4 corners of the earth. We're about to preempt the coming down of rain. God, who is in control of the shefa, the abundance of blessing that comes down from all parts of the world. Right now he's asking the number 4, pour 4 pitchers of water to represent the shefa, the abundance of God. But Eliyahu doesn't settle with 4. Vayomer shenu, do it again. Vayishnu, they pour another 4 pitchers. Vayomer shaleshu, do it a 3rd time. And then they do it a 3rd time. And, well, I'm going to ask my my advisor for economic efficiency. And what do you think of this idea? And he says to me, well, why don't you just ask to pour 12 pitchers in one shot, one after the other? Why do 4 and another 4 and another 4? Okay, I'm sure for efficiency reasons you would, for quality control, that's the right word. For quality control, you would ask, well, why not pour 12 pitchers of water down there? Again, what's the answer? What's the answer going to be? What is 12 symbolic and representative of?
Tribes.
Tribes. And 4 times 3, 3 is representative of? The avot. Exactly, very nice. We're in a moment we're going to see the special unique tefillah of Eliyahu Navi, which will be indicative of the fact that he's connecting not only to the klal, but to the roots, from where Klal Yisrael comes from our patriarchs. That's what the Radak or the Malbim explain in their answer. After all of this is done, Pasuk Lamed 35, Vayilchu hamayim saviv lamizbeach v'gam et ha'ta'ala milei mayim. Everything is filled up. Don't think and sit and complain, well, the water was poured, but maybe it went down the drain. No, there's no drainage. An idea that's coming to my mind right now. The water exists. The ta'ala is filled up with water. The physical situation is now ready for Eliyahu's tefillah. Before we read the tefillah of Eliyahu Navi, which will be in 2 psukim, 2 parts, in Lamed Vav and Lamed Zayin, what are the chances that Hashem is not going to answer Eliyahu? What are the chances that 0 responds?
Well, he has to. He has to because he's on trial. He's on trial, and it's all the.
Are you saying that God is on trial?
Basically.
That's a hard term to use because never ever are we testing God. Never can we test God, as Moshe Rabbeinu says in the Torah.
For his name, I mean.
Except for what?
He said you get 10% and test it.
Okay. There he invites a test.
There is the option of that in the world.
Okay. Very nice idea. Very nice idea. And we're going to ask ourselves in a moment, is what Eliyahu is doing, to the details, is Hashem commanding him to do Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled? Or is it that whatever Eliyahu is doing, Hashem gives him a mandate. He gives him the okay. I'm backing you up to all the details. We're going to test this question. So, okay. He went with him. Is Hashem happy with this approach? Let's see. Let's keep on reading and we'll be able to understand here. Here, Eliyahu in Lamed Vav 36. Now, after waters have filled up all the canals, the area of the wood upon which the meat of the animal is on, the pieces of meat, Pasuk Lamed Vav, Vayihi ba'alot mincha. The ascending of mincha, what does it mean? Vayigash Eliyahu Navi approaches Vayomar and he says, he's approaching in prayer. We saw the word lageshet. Okay? If you are the Gabai and you want to send me to be the Chazan, so the Gabai tells you in Hebrew, Tigash, approach, draw near, go to the area where the Chazan stands. That's the verb used in Halakha, the Gabai uses. So we see the word lageshet for prayer. So too here the Tanakh uses the same term, Vayigash Eliyahu Hanavi. And he approaches and he draws near for the purpose of prayer. And now, let's see the difference between the prayer of Eliyahu Navi as opposed to the prayer of these wild, false prophets that they were praying and making up things of that nature. And they're weird things that they were doing, the Ovdei Baal, the servants of the Baal. Let's see how the prayer of Eliyahu is and what it stems from. Vayomar, Adonai, Elohei Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yisrael. Hayom yivada, ki ata Elohim b'Yisrael, v'ani avdecha, Uvidvarcha asiti et kol hadivarim ha'ela. The time and the way and the content of Eliyahu Navi. It says here that the time of his prayer is Ba'alot HaMincha. What is Ba'alot HaMincha? Is towards the latter time of the afternoon, when in the Beit HaMikdash, the Kohanim are bringing the national public sacrifice, commonly called what's the name? And what is it called? Olat what? Another name? Olat Tamid. Tamid means constant, daily. That's what you meant to say.
Yeah.
Olat, the rising up, the burnt ascent offering of the Tamid offering. Here, the commentators are explaining that the timing of Eliyahu's offering is the time that in the Beit HaMikdash, the Kohanim are bringing the afternoon Tamid offering. And your question is, why? Why is it that the time is Misuchran? How do you say that?
Synchronized.
He's synchronized.
Synchronized.
He's synchronized. I'll try the third time. He's synchronized. What?
Another word for it.
Right.
Mesankren, it comes from English, from Latin. Mesankren.
Misankre. He's basically he's compatible right now with the time over there, 100 kilometers away, 150 or less, Beit HaMikdash. Why? He wants to do it now and dafka now. Because this is the time that the nation of Israel turns to God by our men on top of the mountain. And we're not talking about Merrill Lynch. We're talking about our men, the what? On Harabayit, the Kohanim representing the nation of Israel. And they're bringing the national korban of the Jewish people. So what does he want to do? He wants to do it at the same time. Because then there's a lot of spiritual power. There's a lot of spiritual power that's being done right now in the Beit HaMikdash, the kingdom of Judah, and so on and so forth.
It's like you have to daven outside a minyan. You should daven at the same time as a minyan.
Right, exactly. There's halakha, the laws of Shmona Esrei. I couldn't make it to a minyan today, but you're elsewhere without a minyan. Pray at the same time that your public is praying. Gentlemen, so what we have so far is the quote-unquote violation of shchutei chutz, slaughtering and sacrificing outside the Beit HaMikdash by a permission that a prophet has the right to take, like the court of Israel has the right to do. We saw it yesterday in the Rambam. He is doing something which is a violation, but it's a violation to be done now and now only, and not any other time. And it's trying to, of course, arouse the entire congregation of people. And then he turns to God. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Hashem was, Hashem is, and Hashem will be. And he calls him Elokei, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yisrael. That's a password to get in. The password to get in is to identify. We have a particular God. He's not called the God that created heaven and earth. He's not called the God of Genesis. Is it true that God created the world? Absolutely. However, he's the particular, special Hashem, God of Avraham. He spoke to him. Yitzchak, he prophesied to him. Yaakov, he also prophesied to him. Here called Yisrael, which is the higher, more lofty name of Yaakov, upon which we are called the nation of Yisrael. Okay? Eliyahu is mentioning the Avot. He knows the God of the patriarchs wants to bring redemption to his children. Umevi goel livnei v'neihem. Where are the children? He's arousing mercy in the metaphysical world to bring rachamim from heaven down here. And now he says, what's going to be known today? That not only are you the God, but I'm your servant. That's my job. I'm to be doing what you want me to do. And then he says something which is difficult to understand. Uvidvarcha asiti et kol advarim ha'eleh. What does it mean, uvidvarcha? Did God tell him to do this? What is bidvarcha asiti? So the Radak, Rabbeinu David ben Kimchi says, Lav dafka doesn't mean specifically that God told him do Aleph, do Bet, do Gimel, do Dalet, but rather God appointed me the prophet of the generation. Hashem gave me divine powers. Hashem is giving me backing, support. It's my initiative. Hashem didn't tell me to do Aleph, Bet, and Gimel, Dalet. This is what I think is right for the generation. And that's what Hashem is backing me up. That's what he means, according to Radak. That's part one of the tefillah. Before you ask Hashem for Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, you're a wonderful God. He's praising you. Wow, you're the God that chose Avraham and you did all these things for him. And okay? Before you go to your Abba, would you please give me some money? Abba, you're such a nice father. Thank you for giving me the Swiss chocolate. Thank you for giving me the Dutch cheese, right? And I remember there's very good Dutch cheese. We had a student from Holland, a family. The entire family did Gior, and had a famous cheese store in the Netherlands. I forgot, his name was Gershom. I forgot the name of the family. Very, very fine family. They left their cheese business, I think, and they came here to convert and join the Jewish people. Maybe they still have the enterprise back in Holland. And they
talking about in
Gershom? No.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. And they always talked about the special fine cheeses they have in Holland. Okay, of the finest, perhaps maybe in the world, they say. Okay, in any event, here he's tapping on to the God of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And now we get to the second part of his tefillah. Lamed Zayin. The term we're about to read, Aneni Hashem Aneni, turns into a formula that our sages instituted during fast days, during Yom Kippur services. The prayer, Aneni Hashem Aneni. And we'll ask ourselves, why the repetition? Why say the word twice? We'll deal with that in a moment. Aneni Hashem Aneni, in his tefillah, V'yedu ha'amazeh, let this nation know, Ki ata Hashem ha'elokim, there's no other God like you. V'ata hasibotat libam achoranit. First of all, Aneni Hashem Aneni. If I look up the Targum of Yonatan ben Uziel, which you don't have in this edition. Do you have it? No, do you either? Yonatan ben Uziel, a great Tanaic scholar, explains in the word Aneni, Kabel tzloti Hashem be'eshta, Kabel tzloti Hashem be'mitra. Accept my prayer with fire, accept my prayer with rain. Already, in the plan of Eliyahu Navi, this entire matter was to arouse tshuva, which will eventually, if tshuva will be aroused, there's no reason to withhold rain from the nation, which was probably the likelihood why Achav, which by the way, where is he? We don't see him mentioned right now. Interesting, where is he? Is he hiding in the back? Is he, from binoculars? Where is he? When he's not mentioned. Good question, huh? So the plan of Eliyahu Navi is that if this matter succeeds, he's going to pray for rain. And that will begin to solve the future of the nation of Israel. However, the end of his prayer, we find a lot of difficulty to understand it. Ve'ata, and you, God, hasibotat libam achoranit. I'm reading, it's really a statement, but I'm reading it in wonder because I don't understand it. You God, you caused to sway their hearts to go back from the roots of the Torah? You're at fault? Wow. Is that what it means? That Eliyahu Navi is pointing a finger and accusing Hashem? He's like mikatreg, okay? And he's prosecuting God? Everyone's asking this question. What do you say, sir?
Maybe you could read it as, here they are now, let them go achora, tshuva, l'chzor.
Beautiful. Very nice. I heard an explanation like that. I'm trying to see who did it. Who said that? Rabbeinu said, I want to bring a few explanations to settle the wonder that everyone is raising here. Rabbeinu Sajagon, he's saying the following. Maybe that's what you're saying. He's saying their hearts, which are backwards, can you please move them, sway them, eilecha. Okay? Sway their hearts, which are backwards, sway them towards you. Have them come closer to you. That's what Rabbeinu Sajagon says. Another meaning, Rashi says, God, you gave them room to understand otherwise. As there was this proliferation and this great increase of idolatry, you kept on bringing down rain every winter. There was not a drought. Things were productive. Agriculture was fine. The economy was booming, which it was during Achav's time for years and years. In other words, you led them to think in a backwards way that in spite of all the idolatry going all over the place, no boom, 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 no punishment, no nothing, you led them to think this way. That's how Rashi explains. However, there are those that explain according to the pshat, the simple meaning of the words, as if Eliyahu Navi is strict, critical, and saying that until now, you didn't bring them rain. In spite of their in spite of the idolatry, you were bringing them rain. In other words, your mercy led many, many people to continue in their ways. And the truth is not clear. The truth, as if it is what? Is erased. Meaning, God, your savlanut, your patience that you show to the generations, it caused them to go backwards. As if Eliyahu Navi is pointing a finger. He's litigating, he is convicting God of this problem. And that's this last explanation where there's, of course, room for it, because that's the pshat of the matters here. That's very fitting for Eliyahu Navi, but it's not so fitting for this situation, right? This situation, he's litigating the nation. This situation, he's not really thinking on the betterment of the nation. He's thinking that I have to do boom, 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 the attribute of din, and cause people to do tshuva, have them come walking on their knees and begging to do tshuva, and we'll give them rain. So it's still a hard thing to understand. At the end of the tefillah, what happens? Lamid Chet. Vatipol Eish Adonai. Vatochal et ha'olah, v'ta'itzim, v'ta'avanim, v'ta'afar, v'ta'mayim asher b'ta'ala lichecha. Well, how great is this miracle of fire coming down from heaven? First of all, before the show, I spoke to a few scientists in the Weizmann Institute, and they all told me that fire goes up. Here, fire's coming down. That's already against the laws of physics. Okay? The answer, God can do anything. That's number one. Number two, what is it consuming? The meat of the korban. That's fine. What else is it consuming? The eitzim, the wood. Smokey the Bear told me that fire loves wood. Loves wood very much. But what I don't understand is, how is it consuming stone? How is it consuming the dirt, the earth? Stone and earth are usually not consumed. Maybe they're charcoaled, right? But here it says vatochal. Vatochal is it's consuming. In other words, it's not there anymore. Neither the stones nor the earth. And fourth, v'tamayim asher betala. Well, water, instead of the water drinking the fire is drinking the water. Obviously, all these are metaphysical matters that God can do anywhere, any place, at any time. However, here what's different is the middle of the Colosseum, on top of Mount Carmel. We don't know if Tens of thousands are present, watching, seeing this. Wow, did you see what I saw? And people are seeing the might of God exactly after the prayer of Eliyahu Navi. Okay? So this is something significant, magnificent, bombastic, and people are watching it. What is the result? Pasuk Lamitet, verse 39. Vayar kol ha'am. The entire collection of people indeed see it. It's not something their eyes cannot see. Vayipilu al pneihem. What are they, falling off of banana peels? What are they falling on their face?
They probably fell on their knees and
They're in shock. What else? They're in a state of what? Yira, awe, fear. Wow, they just can't stand up. What did Moshe Rabbeinu act for the first time in his first meeting with God at the burning bush? He did the same thing. He fell. What happened in the Mishkan? In the Mishkan on day number 8, when fire came down. It says, Vayar kol ha'am vayarunu vayiplu pneihem. The same terms. So we see here is this tremendous awe and fear. Out of this fear and covering of their face, okay, the end of the Pasuk Vayomru, Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim. Clear declaration of faith. This too is adopted by the Jewish people, Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, in the Slichot services, on the Yom Kippur services. In fact, you recall at the end of the Yom Kippur service, as the divine presence is about to alight back up to heaven, we recite Hashem Elokim even 7 times. Okay? So where is it taken? Taken here from here? Okay? You would ask, why are they repeating themselves? The Radak says they're repeating themselves just to strengthen their belief in their hearts. But the Malbim is saying differently. Hashem Elokim, He's the real God. And the second time, Hashem Elokim, it's He and not the Baal. In other words, the second time is not only the affirmation that He's God, but we are now rejecting. We're now blotting out any association to the idolatry of the Baal. That's what the Malbim is saying. So at this moment, like it happened in the Mishkan, like it happened in the Holy Temple when Shlomo inaugurated, when the fire came down, this is a very important moment that if anyone had doubts, and anyone was stuttering, gee, do I believe in God or not? Right now, there's no stuttering. There are no doubts. It seems whatever lower beliefs that we have, right now we're standing strong. The nation is declaring that we're now going to be connected to God, a very strong association. Okay, what's the next part of the event? Pasuk Mem, Vayomer Eliyahu lem, Tifsu et Nevi'ei Baal, grab them, police, grab those prophets. Ish al yimalek mem, no one should get out of here. Vayit Pasum, they grab them. Vayoridem Eliyahu nachal Kishon, vayishchatem sham. Why? Ooh, they're being killed. It's a martial court, a field court. I don't know. But why would they be obligated death, gentlemen? Avodah Zarah. Not only are they idolaters, but they were mesitim, right? They're enticing others to do it. Furthermore, they're part of a team that's pursuing to kill the true prophets. They work for Achav and his wife. Do you see a similarity at the sin of the golden calf? 3,000, as it says in the book of Shemot, chapter 34, there we see that Mila Hashem Elai, Moshe says, who's joining me to be the court that's going to eliminate those that are doing idolatry? Who joined Moshe Rabbeinu? The Leviim. Joined them to kill the sinners of Egel Azah that were doing real idolatry. And on the place, they're killed. It could be that really there was no court set up, no testimony issued, but this could also be, some of the commentators suggest, a hora'at sha'ah, that for this moment and this moment only, we're going to perform Torah law without the regular judicial system. It's obvious that these people deserve death, have to be killed, and Eliyahu is a man of din. We see this throughout all the time. This is his personality, and maybe if he has everyone killed that is doing idolatry, this too will be part of the impact, the effect on the people. And that's what he does. I'm asking myself, Nachal Kishon, geographically, what's the importance of the Kishon, the channel there, which goes all the way down into the Haifa port and brings water, rainwater, from that side of the watershed, right?
Something where it flows through
the Jezreel Valley,
the north side of the Jezreel Valley,
right, and to the Haifa port, whatever, and or going the other way down to the Beit Shan Valley, into the Jordan River. It's one of Nachal Kishon is probably of the most important nechalim of the Jezreel Valley. We'll learn more about it in the book of Shoftim, with which woman prophet? Devorah, as well. We'll relate to that in our next shiur, Be'ezrat Hashem. Shalom.